The evening began like any other on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. The atmosphere was light, the audience was buzzing, and the opening monologue had just wrapped up with roaring laughter. Mark Wahlberg, the highly anticipated guest of the night, was introduced with much fanfare. As he walked onto the stage, the audience erupted in cheers. But what started as a typical late-night segment quickly took a turn no one expected. Colbert opened the interview with questions about Wahlberg's recent film projects and his fitness regime, but it wasn't long before the conversation steered into more controversial territory. Colbert, known for his sharp wit and political jabs, brought up a topic that had previously caused some controversy for Wahlberg, touching on past comments and personal beliefs. The audience's response was a mix of curiosity and tension, sensing the mood shift as Wahlberg's smile tightened. At first, Wahlberg attempted to laugh off the comment, responding with a vague answer that avoided diving too deeply into the issue. But Colbert, sensing an opportunity for a more candid moment, pushed again. This time he referenced an older interview where Wahlberg had made remarks about Hollywood culture that had sparked debates online. Wahlberg, visibly uncomfortable now, shifted in his seat and responded with more edge in his voice. "I came here to talk about my movie, not to rehash old drama," he said, maintaining composure but clearly irritated. Colbert, however, didn't back off. With his trademark smirk, he retorted that public figures often have to answer for their past statements, especially when they affect public discourse. The tension between the two became palpable, and the audience began to quiet, unsure of whether they were witnessing an intense joke or a brewing argument. What followed was a series of sharp exchanges that escalated quickly. Wahlberg began defending his past actions, explaining the context of his statements and emphasizing personal growth. Colbert, while still smiling, continued to question the authenticity of those claims, suggesting that words had consequences and that public figures couldn't just walk away from responsibility. Wahlberg's tone grew firmer. "Look, man, you want a real conversation or you want a soundbite?" he asked, gesturing slightly with his hands. Colbert responded coolly, "I want honesty, Mark. If that's too much, maybe the couch isn't the place for it." The audience gasped. It was the moment the interview turned from uncomfortable to confrontational. Wahlberg leaned forward slightly, his expression now openly frustrated. The tension reached a boiling point as the two continued exchanging pointed remarks that no longer carried the veil of humor or politeness. The producers of the show, sensing the volatility of the situation, began signaling off camera. But the two continued, seemingly unaware or uninterested in de-escalating. Wahlberg accused Colbert of ambushing him, claiming that the interview was a setup for controversy rather than a platform to promote his work. Colbert, maintaining his EO position, insisted he was holding a public figure accountable. "This isn't TMZ," Colbert said. "We talk substance here." Wahlberg shot back with, "Substance doesn't mean dragging people over things they've moved on from." The crowd was now watching in stunned silence. No one laughed. No one clapped. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. The energy had shifted entirely from light-hearted late-night entertainment to something more akin to a televised debate, charged with emotion and pride. Eventually, Wahlberg stood up from his seat. "You know what, I think I'm done here," he said firmly, pulling the microphone wire from his lapel. Colbert remained seated but appeared unfazed, his expression neutral. "That's your choice," he replied. Wahlberg turned to the audience and offered a quick wave. Some people clapped awkwardly while others sat frozen, unsure if this was part of the act. He exited the stage with a brisk walk, leaving Colbert alone on the set. For a few seconds, the host didn't say anything. Then he turned to the camera and said, "Well, that was unexpected." The show quickly cut to commercial break, but the internet had already exploded with speculation, memes, and outrage. Clips of the confrontation were being shared and dissected within minutes, with opinions pouring in from all sides. After the episode aired, reactions were swift and polarized. Some viewers criticized Colbert for being too confrontational, accusing him of baiting his guest for ratings. Others applauded him for not shying away from tough questions. Wahlberg's fans defended him passionately, stating that he was ambushed and deserved better treatment. Critics of Wahlberg used the moment to revisit his past controversies, reigniting debates that had long simmered under the surface. Media analysts weighed in, suggesting that late-night shows had blurred the line between entertainment and journalism, to a degree that guests were no longer safe from direct challenges. Publicists and PR professionals pointed to this incident as a lesson in preparation, or caution, for celebrities appearing on such platforms. The next day, neither Wahlberg nor Colbert issued formal statements. Instead, Wahlberg posted a cryptic message on his social media account that read, "Know your worth. Walk away when you need to." The message was interpreted by many as a response to the previous night's drama. Meanwhile, Colbert returned to the airwaves with his usual opening monologue, making a brief joke about some guests preferring the exit over the spotlight. It was a subtle reference, but the audience understood. The topic dominated entertainment news for days. Pundits debated whether the clash would harm Wahlberg's image or whether the public would sympathize with him. Others wondered whether Colbert would adjust his interview style or double down on being provocative. As the days went on, the incident evolved into a cultural flashpoint. Talk shows and podcasts discussed the role of late-night television. Should it be a place for accountability or just laughs? Younger audiences, especially on platforms like TikTok and Twitter, turned the clash into viral content. Hashtags trended, parody videos emerged, and impersonations of both Wahlberg and Colbert circulated widely. While the event may have started as an awkward interview gone wrong, it became a symbol of larger tensions between celebrity culture, media accountability, and the evolving expectations of public figures. The clash had struck a nerve, tapping into societal conversations about redemption, privacy, and the responsibility of influence. In Hollywood circles, the fallout was also significant. Producers and agents reportedly began reconsidering media appearances for their clients, wary of unpredictable outcomes. Some saw this as a dangerous precedent, fearing that any late-night appearance could be turned into a viral confrontation. Others welcomed the shift, arguing that public figures should be ready to discuss all aspects of their public image, not just what's comfortable. Within this context, Wahlberg's confrontation with Colbert was no longer just a headline. It was a cautionary tale, a moment etched into the ever-evolving narrative of celebrity and media. Eventually, a leaked behind-the-scenes clip surfaced, showing Wahlberg having a heated conversation with a show producer backstage. In it, Wahlberg can be heard saying, "This wasn't the deal, this wasn't supposed to be a trial." The clip added fuel to the fire, showing that the confrontation had deeply unsettled him. It also prompted further discussion about the ethics of interview setups. Were guests being properly briefed? Were producers encouraging conflict for ratings? The entertainment industry faced uncomfortable questions, forced to reconcile the desire for viral moments with the need for respectful treatment of guests. Despite the storm, Wahlberg's fan base remained loyal. His next public appearance at a charity event was met with applause and cheers. He briefly addressed the incident, stating, "I stand by walking away when I don't feel respected. That's all I'll say." It was short, but definitive. Meanwhile, Colbert continued with his usual style, making quips about current events and keeping the tone light. But many noted that his subsequent interviews seemed more cautious, perhaps influenced by the Wahlberg fallout. It was a subtle shift, but it didn't go unnoticed. The tension had left a mark on both men and their audiences. In time, the memory of the clash began to fade from daily conversation, replaced by newer stories and fresher controversies. But the event left an impression, referenced occasionally when guests appeared tense or hosts broached controversial topics. It served as a reminder that even in the polished world of late-night television, raw, unscripted moments could still erupt. For Wahlberg, it was both a challenge and a reaffirmation of his boundaries. For Colbert, it was a test of his interview style and the reactions it could provoke. And for viewers, it was an unexpected look at what happens when two strong personalities collide on live television. Producers behind the scenes began implementing new protocols for guest preparation. Pre-interviews became more detailed, and Showrunners paid closer attention to sensitivities that could escalate on air. The lesson was clear. While conflict might drive views, it could also damage relationships and reputations. The clash had become a case study, not just in celebrity culture but in media responsibility. Colbert's team stood by their approach, but others in the industry took a more cautious route, adjusting how interviews were structured. The idea of live confrontation, once seen as bold journalism, was now weighed against the potential fallout.